So I'm a bit delayed on this, but I'm going to do a rant on the Twilight New Moon movie, not the books, the movies. I have read the entire series. I read, let's see, I started reading them before Breaking Dawn came out because I had to wait for Breaking Dawn to come out, and that was torture. So I read the series before the series was technically popular. Like, a lot of people knew about it, but it's not anywhere near what it is today. So I got into the series and I read the series, and then for my 12th grade grammar class, we had to read Twilight because my English teacher was completely, totally obsessed with Twilight, but she made it like, she used like the metaphors and everything out of the book to make it more English appropriate. She didn't just like make us read Twilight because she thought Twilight was a good book. Like, so we did that, and like, as we read that, we read that my first semester, so the Twilight movie came out that November, and we had finished the book by November. So she was like, well, we'll take a field trip to go see the movie. And we were technically the first people of my knowledge to see Twilight whenever Twilight came out, because we went to go see Twilight the day before the movie came out at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So it was before the midnight release of the movie. It was before, anybody that, to my knowledge, had seen Twilight. So we went, and me and my best friend at the time were like madly obsessed with Twilight. We weren't like Twilight groovies like everybody is today, but we were really obsessed with Twilight. So we were really excited, we were gonna be the first persons to see it. So we went and watched the movie, and like halfway through the movie, me and her look at each other and we're like, seriously? This is the movie? And we were so disappointed about the movie. Like, we both hated the movie. That didn't change my aspect on Twilight. Like, I still liked Twilight, but Twilight became overdone. And then it was like every time, like, those two actors were not how I pictured them, and they didn't have the chemistry that Edward and Bella have. So now when I go back to try to read the series, I can't read the series because those two are what I picture, and it's not the same. So it kind of ruined the book. But, I was like, everybody asked me the golden question, are you going to go see New Moon when New Moon comes out? My hair is doing something really freaking weird, and it's making me mad. But anyway, so they were like, are you going to go see New Moon when New Moon comes out? And I was like, no, I'm not wasting my time and my money. There's no reason why. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to go see it. And then New Moon comes out, and I talked to one of my friends, and they were like, oh no, you have to go see New Moon. It's nothing like Twilight. So I was like, okay. Plus, I've been a fan of Taylor Lautner since Taylor Lautner was in Shark Boy and Lava Girl. So I was like, okay, well, Taylor Lautner is like one of the main stars in it since Edward leaves or whatever at the beginning of the movie. So I was like, I'll go see it. So I went and seen it with my boyfriend, who wasn't too happy that I made him go watch it with me, but he went. So I went and go see it with my boyfriend, and oh my wow. Like, it's so much better than Twilight. Like, Twilight, they didn't have enough money to do it. They went too far into the action of Edward rather than the emotion. And that's what I was drawn more to, the characters, than I was like, oh my god, it's vampires, oh my god, it's werewolves, Like, I was more drawn to the characters. So therefore, watching Twilight, and it was more drawn to the fact that they were vampires rather than the fact that, and that there was a teenage girl falling in love with a vampire rather than the emotion. And that's what I liked about Twilight. So therefore, whenever I watched New Moon wasn't, like, the changing between the human to the werewolf was just, oh my god. It was so surreal, and it made me change my entire outlook. Like, I will go buy New Moon the day New Moon comes out, but I am not purchasing Twilight. I do not like Twilight. But I will buy New Moon, and it is making me want to see Eclipse when Eclipse comes out. And I heard that Eclipse is coming out in June of next year, which is so weird. Twilight came out in November, New Moon came out in November, but Eclipse is coming out in June? I don't know. So it's one of those things where I'm excited to see it, but I still have that doubt that's in the back of my head that's like, it could be bad. So I'm hoping it's not bad. But, you know, I went and seen it, and I was really happy that I went and seen it, and I liked it. And we actually went and seen it the weekend after it came out, the Saturday of the weekend after it came out. And that place was packed. Like, there was only like 3 seats open. You know, me and my boyfriend went and bought our tickets at like 4 o'clock, and we went to a 9 o'clock showing. And it was really funny because, like, one of the kids that I went to high school with that was in that class that we read Twilight in, who I know for a fact didn't read the book, and because he copied off me on my test so he could pass the test, is actually dating my boyfriend's stepsister. And he was at that movie. And I was like, this is funny. I know you didn't like Twilight. And he skipped out on going to see the movie as our field trip. And he's like, no, my girlfriend's making me be here. And so, like, we sat by them and everything, which was kind of awkward because my boyfriend's stepsister doesn't really like me because I'm friends with her boyfriend, and it makes her jealous. But I try to look past that point. So, if you're asking me for my opinion, I like New Moon way better than I like Twilight. Although I am, like, you know, as far as teams go, I am Team Edward. Like, I think Edward and Bella should get together just because of what happens in Breaking Dawn. It, like, completes the series. Like, Breaking Dawn completes that series. Because it's like, oh my god, but Bella and Jacob would be so cute. Well, then, I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't read it. So I'm not going to, like, say what happens in Breaking Dawn. But for those of you that know what happens between, like, Jacob and the extra character that's not in the other books, you know? That's the only way I can put that. The extra character that's not in the other books, what happens between him and her is just super cute. So, that's my opinion on Breaking Dawn and Twilight. And, like, the whole New Moon Twilight thing. I know a lot of people have that same opinion. Like, they like New Moon way better than they like Twilight. But, so, I'm praying Eclipse turns out better. Like, it turns out like New Moon and not like Twilight. I'll be really upset if it turns out like Twilight. I guess we'll just wait and see.